Mitch Axelrod is a 45-year entrepreneur, speaker, trainer, advisor, and #1 Wall Street Journal, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon best-selling author of The New Game of Business, The New Game of Selling, and the forthcoming book, The New Game of Service. He's delivered 3,500 seminars, workshops, keynotes, executive briefings, and coaching clinics to more than 1 million people on business, entrepreneurship, sales, leadership, values, intellectual property, and life skills. Mitch has appeared in dozens of media and taught at NYU, USC, Notre Dame, and Harvard, and has helped his clients generate $3 billion of revenue.
You're listening to Wealthy Advisor Mindset Podcast, a show dedicated to helping financial advisors grow their AUM while enjoying a great quality of life by creating a high-performance mindset. Guiding you on this podcast is none other than Nina Cook, a seasoned mindset coach who has worked with hundreds of business owners over the last decade to dissolve all their self-sabotaging behaviors and habits to achieve their business goals so they can have a much bigger impact and make much more money. Throughout the show, we'll deliver actionable strategies to grow your practice more easily and quickly, while revealing the incredible possibilities that emerge when you tap into your best self. Ready for a breakthrough that amplifies your impact and profits? Let's dive in.
Mitch, this is such a pleasure having you here today. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Great to reconnect with you after all these years.
And what a bio. I mean, that is a stunning bio, and I cannot wait to dig deep to find out how your mindset has played the role in helping you to become so successful and also to overcome the obstacles as well. So let's start by sharing, if you could share some of your journey with us that's helped you to create this incredible bio.
Well, I'll say that I started in 1978 in financial services. I got my insurance license. Back then, we used to say we put your shingle on the wall and you open up an office and you're in business, right? I spent 10 years as a financial planner. I got my CFP in 1983. That dates me a little bit. And we were one of the first firms to do fee-based financial planning, insurance, and then no load mutual funds. So no load, meaning no commission. Why? Because we wanted to really be an independent, objective advisors. When I transitioned out of financial planning after 10 years, I was teaching what I was doing, which was how to become a trusted advisor. Interestingly enough, it led me on the front page of the biggest insurance industry publication. I didn't know this until it came out. And the caption is, Mitch Axelrod trains Mutual of New York agents to be professional advisors, not product salespeople. And so we introduced the trusted advisor to the financial services industry for the next 10 years. After I got out of the retail business, I started training organizations, companies, teams, Prudential, New England Life, MetLife, Equitable, many of the top 20 companies. And then one day I produced a program called 21 Ways to Double Your Sales because I had done it. I took out a full page ad in 1992 in the Life Insurance Selling magazine. We sold 1,000 units. I was getting calls from all over the place. Mitch, come in and teach our people 5 ways, 3 ways. How do you do it? That led to another program, and then ultimately it became the new game of selling. I coined the phrase in 1995. I've been training people ever since, wrote the book in 2014. So mindset. Well, your mindset kind of has to work in conjunction with your motivation and your method. I call this the 3M formula, right? mindset, motivation, and method. So your mindset is all about your purpose, about what you do. Your motivation is all about passion, why you do it. And your method is all about skill and how you do it. All right. So if you're a three-legged stool or three-dimensional being, mind, body, spirit, if you will, you've got to get all three parts of this equation somewhat balanced. You're the expert on mindset. I work with a tool that actually measures how you think and value, so we can see kind of inside your head and what's in the way. It actually comes out in a 20-page report, and we can see your blocks. We all have blocks, right? So get your mindset straight. And then motivation. It's like, why are you doing what you're doing? It goes beyond money. One of the pages in this profile that we have measures your motivation, and we have measure 6 kinds of motivation. And when I got into the business, they were always motivating me based on money and residuals. I wanted to be of service, right? I wanted to be on a mission and a team. So what they were trying to motivate me with was mismatched from my internal motivation. Fortunately, I broke off, started my own firm, and did it my way. So I work with people that say, why did you get into this business? Because when you're struggling up here, sometimes going in here helps you to get back to why you began to do this. And you can overcome some of the adversity. And then you've got methods. And that's the third leg of the stool. Now, no matter how many methods you have, it can never overcome a glitch in this mindset or a lukewarm heart. People want to work with people who not only just passionate about their work, but passionate about helping people. So when we train people to be trusted advisors, it was a big transition from presentation, demonstration, to becoming what I call a doctor of sales. That requires diagnosis, first history to understand the patient, diagnosis, then prescription. And by shifting your attention from what you think you're going to be saying to listening like your life depended on it, shifted the whole context of the conversation. So they say content is king, but context is the kingdom. And so we were teaching people how to recontextualize the conversation from actual things that you do, like the questions you ask, the active listening, compassionate listening, the feeding back to people what they're saying, taking notes. Well, now you can do it, So it really shifted the playing field. And then, obviously now today, trusted advisor is table stakes. So 20 years ago, I said, we have to go beyond it. You have to now become the trusted voice of choice. You have to be the person that they're hearing is giving them the best advice in their best interest. And that is what longevity in this business, I think, is all about. So that's kind of a, quick history. Try to squeeze 45, 60 years into 5 minutes.
That's brilliant. I love it. The trusted advisor. This is obviously, we hear this all the time now. Where do you see financial advisors getting stuck the most? What do you see as their biggest challenge in terms of growing their profits, growing their AUM, working with clients that really want to invest well with them? Where do they get stuck in their heads?
Well, there's a lot of places they get stuck in their heads. I could name a few because I was stuck in my head too. So first thing is, I call it the curse of no. And this afflicts new people in the business, all right? Because we think, and again, this is kind of old game thinking. We think our job is to have answers. It's not. It's to know the questions to ask. And anybody who cares really deeply about helping people, especially in this industry, because there's a lot of experts who can give you answers. So again, I go across stream, the mainstream goes one way. I go cross stream, I say, you know what? If I had to train a newbie, I would not fill their head with product knowledge. That's a waste of time. You're just confusing. I would train them how to be the best diagnostician, to know the most about the client and not fear any questions. And when they get a question they don't know the answer to, that's a great question. Let's find out the answer to that together. And when I realized my job was not to have all the answers, because you can't. Now, of course, answers are a finger away, right? And many times the client knows more about your business than you do. So you're no longer just an information provider, an educator. Back when I started, I had the advantage of education. I did a 1-hour seminar, and I did 200 of those as marketing and invited people to a no obligation consultation. And I spoke everywhere I could with one seminar, with the revolving slides, and when the power in the hotel went out, you had no slides, you had to wing it, but I knew my material. And I said, this is what you can do. We educate. Now, education is like everybody can get education anywhere. So what distinguishes you, right? Your ability to sit in the seat of the buyer, get inside their head. And if your head is whirling, thinking about, well, they may not like me, making all kinds of assumptions, right? That's why I say sometimes to get this straight, you have to get this straight and come back to say, okay, and understand what the business is. So that's one aspect, right? I developed a model 30 years ago that I'm speaking a lot about today, and probably more valid today. I call it soul, role, and goal. Our soul is who we are. Our role is what we do. Our goal is where we're going. If you start with goal and your role is to get the goal, and there's some mismatch between the two, that becomes something we call role frustration and goal frustration. In your head, you're thinking, I'm not getting my goal. It's happening the way I think it ought to. What's going on here? And now you start to question yourself. And then that leads to soul frustration, which is, well, it must be me. They gave me the blueprint. They gave me the script. Maybe they've given me prospects. I don't know. Why isn't it happening? And we have a terrible tendency that when things don't go as we think they ought to, more than often than not, we turn inside and blame ourselves, right? And so part of this, getting your mindset clear, is to recognize you don't control outcomes. You control process. And the better you get at the process, the more targeted and pinpoint you get clear about who you serve, why you're special, why you're unique. Now, all of a sudden, you're clearing away a lot of the clutter that's up here. And sometimes, and I found this out myself, I developed something called rejection-proof networking. Why? Because I didn't like rejection. I made 5,000 cold calls in my first job, walking up and down skyscrapers in Manhattan, not one sale. Not one. I said, never again, right? So I developed a 3-part, and this is killer. I'll share it with your audience. Here's what I do. Here's why I do it. Here's who I'm looking for. Who do you know? Where should I go? I've taught that to 100,000 people. Now, rejection is a thing in the mind. It's too big to deal with the fear. But if I can eliminate the rejection, I won't have a fear of rejection. And I discovered I could eliminate rejection. I could show others how to do it. And then you have no fear because you know you can't get rejected. And it forces you to get very clear about who you're looking for specifically and what you do, not what you sell, but the outcomes, the transformation, and the transportation that you provide your clients. So this kind of has congealed into what I now call the new game of selling and service. And we're very eager to share it with as many people as we can.
So I mean, this is all fascinating stuff, and I love all of this. How did your mindset trip you up? How did you have to adjust your way of thinking when it wasn't serving you, when it was sabotaging your goals? How did you know that this was something that you needed to address? How did you get that awareness?
It's a great question. Two things. I read a quote years ago, 20 years ago, by Robert Oxton Bolt, an Englishman. He wrote Lawrence of Arabia, Man for All Seasons, Dr. Zhivago. He won 2 Academy Awards. Great writer. He said, belief is not merely an idea the mind possesses. Belief is an idea that possesses the mind. Right? Take that in for a second. So I started to look at my beliefs, not from the point of view, are they right or wrong? Because we all believe our beliefs are right and wrong. I said, well, what is the key here? The key is who owns what? Does that belief own me? I'm not good enough. I'm not experienced enough. I don't have enough product knowledge. I don't have this. I don't have that, Okay. Question is that a belief that possesses me or do I possess it? How do I know? If I possess it, I can challenge it. I can question it. I can change it, alter it, drop it, and just let it go. Right? But if it possesses me, I defend it. I protect it, even when it's no longer serving. So I said to myself, I need a mantra. And I came up with a mantra from an application in business. And here's the mantra. I'll give it to you first as a business mantra. I said, I honestly believe that any company, small business to large mega, can completely transform their culture and their customer service with one sentence. When given the choice between following the rules, the protocol, the policy, and the procedure, or loving and serving the customer, love and serve the customer. Period. Drop the mic. Now think about it as a buyer. And again, we all should be putting ourselves in the seat, in the shoes, and look through the eyes of the buyer. To sell Jane Jones what Jane Jones buys, you have to see Jane Jones through Jane Jones' eyes. Okay. So when you begin to look through the buyer's eyes, now all of a sudden you see the whole world differently. So I took that mantra and I said, what if I applied it to myself? So here's the mantra as it works for us. Whatever you think, whatever you believe, whatever expectations, concepts you have in your head, here's the question. Is it loving and serving me or loving and serving the people I love and serve? If it's not, ask yourself, why am I holding onto it? Why am I holding onto any belief, idea, concept, if it doesn't love and serve me or the people I love and serve? Right? And now I don't want to go into deep dive into why, the question answers itself. The answer is I should give up any belief, even if somebody put it in my head, that doesn't love and serve me. And then I should replace it with a belief that loves and serves me, or leave it void, leave it discarded, and little by little. So I started to ask that question of all my beliefs. Do I possess it, or does it possess me? And if it doesn't love and serve me, there's no reason to hold on to it. Boy, I cleared my cache like in no time, and now I'm very conscious. And if I'm defending, if I'm protecting, if I'm resisting, I'm saying there's something here. Why am I resisting? So when you get back to it, it comes back to soul, role, and goal. And the fact that we diminish our intrinsic value when our extrinsic performance or our systemic expectations don't get fulfilled. And so what was the antidote for me? I did my soul setting and my role setting, and then I did my goal setting. I reversed the process because I was frustrated that I wasn't getting the goals. I was then frustrated that I wasn't getting the payoff in work I'm doing and my soul. And I had to really reverse the process. Okay, let me get realigned in terms of who I am as a person, why I got into the work I'm doing to begin with, what's the best role for me to play. And now let me set my goals in alignment. And all of a sudden, a lot of the frustration and stress just disappeared. So that was a major pivotal moment 30 years ago. And now I've been working with people to get that kind of restructured in their mind and how they think.
Wonderful. This is fantastic stuff. I love it. The belief programming we have is directly responsible for the results that we have, without a shadow of a doubt. And for anyone who's listening, really start looking long and hard at the beliefs that you carry around, the dominant beliefs, which dictate how much happiness and success you have in your life. How do you overcome adversity? When there is setback, when life throws you a real curveball, normally it's out of the blue, not expecting it. How do you deal with that and get back into what you want to do with life, keeping your goals in front of you?
Well, I had such an event 5 years ago next month. I had a stroke, and it left me paralyzed completely on my right side. I couldn't walk, couldn't talk. And the next morning, the doctors told me I had a brain tumor also, unrelated to the stroke. So in a period of 5 days, I had a stroke that left me paralyzed, 2 brain surgeries. And then 5 days later, I had to go to a nursing home and spend 2 months to learn how to walk again, talk again.
Wow.
When I walked, I was wheeled in on a wheelchair. They told me, you're going to be here 4 months. Said, there's no way. I'm walking out of here. And they just, chuckled. 9 weeks later, I walked out of that nursing home. Okay. And I've done quite a few interviews on this. It was featured in television shows. The story was in a best-selling book. And I realized that the stroke saved my life. The brain tumor would have burst, would have killed me. So if I don't have the stroke, I don't know about the brain tumor. And so I say, sometimes bad things happen, so worse things don't happen. A bad thing happened. I didn't see it that way. And a friend of mine said, boy, what a stroke of luck. I said, yep, that's my stroke of luck. And I've been asked, how did you get through the mental part of it?
How did you create the mental strength, that resolution and resolve to walk out of that nursing home?
I don't know that I created it. I think I responded to the situation. And I don't know if you're familiar with the 5 stages of grief. I went right through the 5 stages, and I didn't stop at denial. I didn't get angry. I didn't do bargaining. There was no bargaining. And most of all, I didn't go into depression. I didn't go into self-pity, feeling sorry for myself, because my perspective was, oh my God, I'm alive. This stroke saved my life. Like tomorrow morning, that thing could have burst in my head. And sometimes we don't have the frame of reference that what we see is a bad thing that happens to us, because in our mind, it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. There's nothing good about a stroke except it saved my life. And I said, oh my God, I got a second chance. And I went right to acceptance. This is it. All right. It's like back in the 1980s when we lost $1 million in a real estate deal, and I was dead broke. My wife was 9 months, 8.5 months pregnant. I had nothing to do, and I had to go out and get business. Sometimes you never know how much strength you have if you don't get caught in that pit of depression. And that's whether a client doesn't return a call or you get upset at traffic. My God, you never know when those grains are going to drop through the hourglass. You have no idea. And I felt like I got a second chance. I had to learn to talk again. I had to learn to walk again, right? But every day was gratitude for being alive. And that's back to the soul, be thankful for what you do have. I can't type yet, 5 years later. So, I'm a writer. I'm a speaker. I couldn't write. I couldn't speak. So I didn't get caught up in like, where am I going to be in 5 years? If I knew 5 years ago, I still wouldn't be able to type and barely be able to write. I would have been in a rubber room somewhere, because that's my livelihood. That's what I do. So every day was today. It gave me a sense of presence, gave me a sense of appreciation for little things we take for granted. And I'm not saying you should have to go through a life-altering thing. Whatever your setback is, don't get stuck in denial. Don't get angry. Don't try to bargain. And most of all, don't get stuck in that pit of depression where you can't see above. All you see is darkness. So I said, hey, today I'm a little better. Tomorrow, a little better. My nurses. Plus, we're independent. We're self-employed. We're good at being supportive, not so good at being supportable. I had no choice. I had to rely on my doctors, my nurses, my therapists, my friends, my family, encouragement, and everything. You got to just let go of your ego. And sometimes you just got to say, I need help. Please help. And it's for some people, men especially, those are the hardest words to ever say. I need. And so here I am 5 years later. I'm about 80 to 90% of my speech is back. I have total full control of my body. I can take care of myself. They wouldn't let me have a nursing home because I'm single. You had to be able to take care of yourself. And they never thought I'd leave in 2 months. They said, nobody's ever come in here so paralyzed and walked out of here in 2 months, ever before. So you never know how much strength you have until you're tested. And so a lot of life is just how you look at it. You change the angle. You change the way you look at things. Wayne Dyer said, you change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
So true. And you had such a strong desire to walk out of that nursing home, and the mind controls the body. So when you have that desire, you've got the emotional connection to it, then you will do whatever it takes to make sure that desire happens for you. So Mitch, what's the biggest lesson that life has taught you so far?
To have no regrets.
Tell me how you do that.
I have a training where I talk about, time zones, what time zone are you in? And if we spend too much time in the past or the future, we're not living life. And that's a lot of setbacks have taught me. When life is going great, you don't think about being the present much. You're just in the flow, right? When you're in the flow, it's kind of like, you're enjoying life. If you spend too much time in the past, we tend to spend it on the things that we think went wrong, what we regret, and it affects us emotionally, affects us mentally in the present. So when I was training people in financial planning, I'd sit down with people and I'd see their eyes like they were wandering. And I'd say to them, are you thinking about a bad past experience? Invariably, they'd say, yeah, share that with me. Because if we don't clear your past, if your mind is back there to that financial planner who screwed you over, we're not having a present conversation. Or if your mind's out like too far in the future. So can you block out the past? Can we have if not, maybe we should break and reschedule. And people would be like, whoa, because I can't have a conversation about what's good and important for you today if your head is back or if it's in the future. I was able to really bring people present and shorten my meetings, get right to the point, receive any kind of information, because many people are wandering. So I would say that if you could just take the past as it's history, you can't change it. Obviously, we know that rationally. So what are you holding on to? And a big part of my learning through this is learning what I hold on to and what I let go. And what I discover after all these decades of life is that it's very easy to hold on to something, but not so easy to let go. And that you have to get into the habit of letting go. Like I played baseball, minor league baseball. Well, I was tried out for one of the major league teams here. And I played baseball until I was in my mid-40s, right? I loved baseball. Why? Because you could strike out, meaning you make an out every time, 4 times, and the next day is a new game. And that's what got me thinking the new game. Every day, it's a new game. You have to block out what happened yesterday. You can't think about tomorrow. It's like, all right, man, I got to get up to bat. That ball is coming at 90 miles an hour. I better be focused on that ball today. And it gave me such a great perspective of like letting yesterday, learn from it, adjust if you have to, but you got to let it go. So when I had the stroke, I really, really felt like, man, every single day is a second chance. And if you look at life as a movie and you're the director of the movie, and if you don't like the way the scene is going, you say, stop, cut, take 2. I've spoken 3,500 times, maybe more by now. Believe me, I wasn't as good the first time as the 10th or the 100th, but I would have never gotten to the 10th or 100th if I didn't do it the first time. So this is my philosophy of life. I came up with this phrase years ago: imperfect action beats perfect inaction every time for me. Because I don't know, it had to be perfect. I have to know enough. If you have the heart of a servant leader, if your objective is to serve people, you don't have to have all the product knowledge. All right. Because people are looking, and more so today with AI and automation and mechanization, there's more distance between us and our clients. We want to bring us closer, and that's the human touch. And that's what the new game of selling and service is all about.
Amazing. I could talk for hours. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. So how can our listeners find out more about you and the amazing work you're doing?
Go to the new gameofselling.com, and we have a 19-minute video there that outlines the work we do. There's also another page, which newgameofselling.com/training-gym. Every week we do training for a couple of hours. We open up our gym and people come and play the new game of selling and service. We work on their value proposition. We work on targeting the market, what to say in an appointment, how to get referrals, how to activate, reactivate customers, the whole gamut. And maybe we could put that link in the show notes as well.
We will do that for you, no problem. Thank you so much, Mitch. It's been absolute pleasure. I've loved every second of our interview. For everyone who's been watching, I know you've got a ton of value from this. Until next time, bye-bye for now.
I hope you enjoyed the episode today on the Wealthy Advisor Mindset. Make sure to hit subscribe on your chosen platform to get notifications on upcoming episodes. If this episode made you think of someone who you think would benefit from listening to it, then go ahead, take a screenshot, and share this episode with them, or post it on your social media to share with your friends and colleagues. You can catch the show notes for this episode and any mentioned links in the description. If you are a financial advisor who is struggling to grow your AUM and profits while creating a great work-life balance, and you know it's because your mindset is stopping you, or you have a specific challenge in mind that you would love Nina's feedback on, go to chatswithnina.org and grab a time that works best for you. We'd love to see if we can help you. Once again, it's chatswithnina.org. We will see you in the next episode.